Hello everyone, it's Cayman here for a third and final video, hopefully, on the Temple of Polybius CDT 3 update. So there were a few changes that actually came out a few months ago. I've just been not playing Dungeon Defenders, so I thought I would bring everyone up to speed on what has been going on with the update. So first thing that I want to talk about is Temple of Water Survival. Now, I did not go over this initially when it came out. I only went over the campaign and the challenge map. So, the survival is 35 waves, not 40, and you get 3 rewards from it. At wave 25, wave 30, and wave 35. So at wave 25, you get fairies. So you can see here, it's typical stats for a fairy, nothing impressive. At wave 30, you get seahorses. They have upgraded damage from Aquanos seahorses. So if you can get a working build, you can get some very nice seahorses from it. As you can see, the 3,900 damage on this seahorse, it's pretty good, along with the stats. If they don't spawn mythical, they can spawn rather well. And finally, on wave 35, along with the standard campaign reward, you also get this sea turtle, which is a new pet that does, in fact, give the speed boost on other treadmill pets. Or at least that you get from skeletons and turtles. So as you can see, it's got some very nice stats. The 725 looks to be the spawn cap. I believe you can upgrade them to 700. And as you can see from the double 700 and the 665, they do spawn rather well. But I haven't done much of the survival, so I don't know how easy it will be to farm wave 35. I would probably also rather farm wave 30 than 35, but that's another issue. So on to some other notes about Temple of Water itself. So the vertical towers that are in the vertical movement in Temple of Water, previously, if you were to say spawn a buff beam or another tower on one of these platforms, when the next wave would come, the water would drop, but the tower would not drop with the platforms it was on. Now, the tower will, in fact, drop with the platform, including auras and stuff, which makes this crystal far easier to actually defend because you will have a more cohesive defense around the crystal if you decide to place it on these platforms. So, moving on Insane, they have buffed the weapons a little to allow them to spawn Supreme and Ultimate. And finally, one other change. Well, no, there's 2 other changes to talk about. Both have to do with weapons. So first of all, you saw a what's it called? Undertow in the center of the area up here. So Undertow had a size increase. Here is the previous one I showed you. As you can see, it's rather small. Melee weapons that are this small generally aren't very useful. So the size was buffed. This is now roughly maximum size. They can probably get a little bigger than this, but as you can see, it's rather big now and actually rather useful now. So yeah, Undertow got a size buff. So we can just put this guy down. And finally, one other change to weapons. This is to the Temple of Polybius weapon, the Mischief Maker, where they lowered the vertical size of the fire here. So normally, if you remember my previous video, I believe we fired it right here, and it took up basically this entire area, the fire VFX. Now it just takes up about mannequin size. So it makes seeing things a lot more manageable. Alright. So, on other campaign maps, so for Winter Wonderland, there were a few changes. So first of all, they reduced small coal requirements on the Diamond Forge. So now if you want to farm small diamonds, you no longer need 88 coal. You only need 44. Well, or should we say 44 small coal. And there was one other change, which is they reduced the countdown on the boss fight to 15 seconds, along with being able to skip the cutscene. You can now save a pretty good amount of time running Silent Night now. So, next up, we're going to look at some Dread Dungeon items. So, as you recall, Dread Dungeon gave these chain bracers here. They're not that great. So they were buffed a bit. So as you can see, this next one is mythical. It has pretty good stats, well, better stats. Most of them are in the 2 digits now. And it's a decent upgrade, so it's pretty good. So there's more, should I say that these are a better, I don't know, jumping off point between getting your standard single-digit accessories and then jumping all the way up to 3-digit accessories in Lab Assault. So that there's now a better middle ground for this. And then here we have Transcendent. As you can see, it goes up to 33 on these guys. A bit more upgrades. So, next we have more things for, not campaign maps, but challenge maps. So, first of all, for Temple of Love, the bracers, the cufflinks here, these can now spawn with the same amount of upgrades that you can get on Ember mount, the Ember wrist guards. So they're basically the same item now, they just have different colors. So that was a very welcomed buff for those ones. And then next we have, okay, this is more for all maps as a whole, but Jester previously would only be able to receive Squire, Monk, and Huntress weapons as a random reward on a map where there were 4 rewards like King's Game. He wouldn't be able to receive the Enchanted Bishop on King's Game, for example. That has been changed, so Jester now has a 25% chance to receive any type of weapon, so you can get all 4 with a Jester now. Which makes sense, since normally when you run Jester on Old One, you get the super legendary Apprentice skin, so I guess it's fitting that they re-add that. And then finally, we have a boss rush change. So I might as well go into boss rush really quick and show you what that's all about. Get that Mega Chicken on, and let us go over to boss rush. So boss rush had a countdown shortener added, which is something that we've been waiting for a good while now. So we have to wait for the countdown to start. We go over here, and you see hasten current countdown. And only the host can do it, so people in pub games can't troll you. And all it does is it drops your countdown to 2, so it's a "we want to go now" button. And 1 and 2. It'll just show you once more. It's not just on the first wave. You can do it anytime. Just need to wait for the numbers. Otherwise, this goes on cooldown for about 5 seconds. So 22, hit the button, 2. So as you can see, boss rush countdown shortener is something we've wanted for a while. Alright, let's just get this guy. Alright, you get the idea. Boss rush countdown shortener, something we all liked. And then finally, we have Ember Mount Volcano. So with Ember Mount Volcano, we have 2 changes that affect it specifically. So we have Phoenix will no longer commit suicide if you decide to lead it into lava. It is unfortunate, I know. I having so much fun just getting free Ember Scepters, jumping off the bridge here into the lava. Phoenix follows you in if it's already in a dive pattern, as you saw with the video I put out last week. So the big deal about that is, again, no free items. Unlucky. So second of all, we have another change. This one has to do with the pad down here. Let's just go here. So previously, if you ran off the edge like right here, you could go in really close to the pad and wind up just standing on the pad. Now you can't do that because the pad has been fixed, and I am bad. But it got me where I wanted to be. So one other change, this isn't specific to Ember Mount, but this is for all things, but it'll be most helpful on things like Ember Mount and opacity. So chests can no longer throw mana under the floor, which is really nice, especially for things like the one chest on opacity right at the start where you can get the 50 gold going behind it, so you can't actually pick it up when it's on that's in the major ruins with the 2 crystals. So those are the Ember Mount changes. Now let us talk about some survival changes. So first off, we have moon base. So we are going to go over here and just go all the way up. So on Moonbase, first of all, the Moon Pet. The level requirement for it has been normalized. It's been brought to 90, just like the Sea Turtle that I showed you earlier and forgot to tell you the level requirement for it's level 90 requirement now. So next off, we have a fix for the excessive mana that would be on the ground in Moonbase survival because there would be so many mobs flying around everywhere. So next is another very interesting change. Well, there's 2 changes that are rather related to each other. So first of all, normally when you have a bunch of armor dropping on the ground, most of it would be leather. When you saw this in Lab Assault, you saw this in survivals, you saw this in campaigns, you saw it everywhere. That's because leather armor was coded to have a roughly 40% drop chance, leaving 60% drop chance for the other 4. So they were only 15% drop chance. So it was 40 for leather, 15 for everything else, which is why most sets are leather, because it dropped a lot. That has been fixed. It's now probably 20% for everything. So that has been normalized. And then we have another thing like that for weapons, where 60% of all weapons would spawn electric element if they could spawn with a random element. So it'd be 60% and then 20-20 for fire poison. So that has been fixed, so they're all 33%. So next up, we have something that everyone will like for basically everything. So when you have a bunch of mana now, previously you'd drop it and it would just go everywhere unless you were Summoner. Now, for everyone, it just goes right at your feet, just like Summoner. It is very nice. It's just easier to demonstrate on survivals because there's so much more mana around. It's just dropping right at my feet. It's pretty good stuff. So, there's a few other things. So now, if you reset your input file, that is UDK input, you delete it, and then boot up the game, supposedly you're able to hit O and remove enemy billboards. So this guy right here. Unfortunately, I just hit O and it didn't work. I have done everything I possibly can. Like, I have deleted the file, I have gotten the file I'm supposed to have from a CDT member, It's just not working for me, and I am not entirely sure why. So, unfortunately, I cannot remove these. Maybe you can. And that'd be nice, because I hate these things. I literally never use them. So, another one I had working for a while. I'm going to just return to Tavern for this one. So now, along with the O command, you can now press P. And what this will do is it will toggle towers on the minimap again if you have reset your file. Now, I have done that and it worked for me, but it's not working for me right now, and I don't know why. You also saw another feature right there that I will get to probably at the end of the video. So we have now covered that, and now we just have one more thing to talk about, and that would be Misty Mire. So Misty Mire weapons, as you may recall, such as this guy right here, the poisonous spider arm, almost never drop. You can go 3 ways without seeing even a mythical, unique item from Misty Mire. That is no longer the case. They will now drop at a similar rate to all other survival weapons. So if you want to go get yourself a unicorn pike, you can actually do that and hope that it will actually drop. So I wasted like 15 hours farming for an ultimate unicorn pike and everything else. Feels bad. So we have now finished survival, so we've got a few more assorted things to talk about. So we have another keybind, but this one doesn't require you to delete your input file, I don't think. It is when you are looking, when you have a trade active with someone, and unfortunately I don't have my alt account on beta to show you, but you can press T when you're hovering an item. Didn't work. And it will add it to the current trade. I'm hitting T and it's selecting the item. So you can tell that it's supposed to be doing something, but I do not have a trade open, so it won't work. So there's also another thing you can do with the Tavern Keeper, and that is you can buy these items he sells here when your inventory is full, just like remove from the shop when your item box is full, or get items from a campaign reward when your item box is full. You can do that now. Now, obviously, I can't show you because I only a third full, but you can do it. So, another thing you wouldn't have noticed, but fast gameplay menu transitions, this option is enabled by default now. So if you're a new player, that's why your menu speed is a lot faster. So then we have another change. I don't actually have Super Legendary Huntress character. Alright. So let us fix that. So on Super Legend... I just did it. I knew I was going to do it, and I did it. So on Super Legendary Huntress, there was a fix with accessories. And that fix was that your hats are no longer on backwards. No.
His robe and wizard hat.
Edit. That's what we want. Alright. So we can just show you with, I don't know, probably a headdress. That'd be the most obvious. Do I have... I don't even know if I have a headdress. I do right here. Alright. So you can see with the Countess, the headdress is offset a little. I think it's also clipping into the eye. I think. But on Super Legendary Huntress, as you may recall, if you had one, it would just be straight up backwards. Now it isn't. So as you can see right there, it's actually on the correct way. The band needs to be like on the forehead and not on the top of the head, but okay. Whatever. And then finally we have damage numbers above 5 million no longer stop appearing. So if you're doing like barb cross, oh no. So you can, yeah, I'd have to bring in my monk to show this. So normally those 16 millions just wouldn't show up. These normal hits. Okay, second hit. Yeah, that wouldn't show up sometimes. They'll now always show up. So there's no more improvements coming along. So now we talk about one other thing that I said I had no idea what was going on in the previous video, and now I actually have it working. So that's good. Yeah, let's go. So, place the spike blockade. You can really barely see it on the minimap. So why is that? Well, that is because over in the video tab, I've got opacity working now. So they've added the minimap tower transparency subtitle, well, subheading, so you can actually see what's going on. So I'm going to move this up here. It didn't change it. I guess you have to restart the game before it takes effect. So anyway, that shows how opaque the minimap will be. Well, your tower will be on the minimap. So it scales up from percent health. So it only starts becoming more opaque when it hits whatever mark. So if I moved it down here, it wouldn't even start changing opacity until it's at 50% health. And then whatever percent you want the tower to become fully opaque, so you can see you need to repair it at. So whether you want it to be half health or whether you want it to be like no health, like I've got it set. So that is the opacity of, well, the opacity settings. That's what they do. So finally got that all sorted. So this update is currently in who knows status, December 2019 per YGK. Unreliable source. Anyway, it is in Trendy's hands. It's whenever they can get around to QA testing this, and between Dungeon Defenders 2 updates, I do not know when they will get to it. So word on the update is whenever Trendy's ready for it. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.